What was the worst physical pain you have ever experienced? Kidney stones. I'm pretty susceptible to them as it runs in my family, so I have to drink a lot of water. I've gotten kidney stones 2 or 3 times within my life so far. I don't want any more, so I'm extra cautious. I asked my doctor if it was normal for the pain to be so extreme. He said he'd been told by multiple women that childbirth was preferable to kidney stones. Tooth infection. I pulled some of my hair out. I could see someone killing themselves to end the pain. This right here is why I don't get teeth being considered luxury bones for insurance purposes. 1. Tooth infections can cause horrible pain you just kinda have to deal with if you can't pay a dentist to fix it. 2. One can absolutely kill you, and yet it's not taken seriously at all from a medical standpoint. Pretty much until the moment it does kill you, nearly kill you. Like WTF? Are teeth not a part of your body? I can relate. In 1999 had terrible pain which I thought was an abscess. Fast forward 2 days, my whole head was swelling up. I had a fever and my tongue was 3 times its usual size. I managed to ring a friend and speak the word hospital to her. By this point I couldn't swallow. The local A&E let me sit for a few hours because all they heard was the word tooth. Once I got to see a doctor, everything changed. It was late on a Sunday evening by this time. He told me I had to be admitted and needed an operation that night. Turns out I had something called Ludwig's angina, and I would have died of suffocation had I not gone to hospital. I had the operation that night and I was in hospital for a week recovering. Thank goodness for the NHS. I have a condition called proctalgia fugax. This is an uncontrollable spasming of the rectum and can last anywhere from 15 minutes to an hour and a half. It always happens in the middle of the night and feels like I've been probed by aliens without lube. They don't know what causes it, but I can go months without an attack and then 2 or 3 nights in a week. It is fucking brutal. I am pretty sure I've felt that pain several times in my life. I don't have the condition, thankfully, so it's not often, but basically your taint suddenly spasms and time stops. It's horrific. So fucking sorry you deal with that. I was changing the brake pads on my car and the jack collapsed. The entire car crushed my arm and pinned me to the ground. It was in an apartment complex and there were people outside that heard me yelling for help. A guy and an older lady came and tried lifting the car enough for me to pull my crushed arm out. The skin was peeling off as I pulled with all my might. Once I felt some pressure release, and just before my arm was out, the car slipped out of the lady's hands and crushed my hand. At this point, I'm trying to get her to lift for 2 more seconds so I can get my arm out, and after what felt like an eternity, I finally got it out. I can't describe what having your arm and hand crushed feels like, but it was the most intense pain I've ever felt. I kept going unconscious because of the pain until they hooked me up in the ambulance. Shit, dude. What was the damage to your arm and hand? My right 2 knuckles are gone, so I don't really have much movement in my pinky at all. My arm has nasty scars but is back to normal other than that. I had testicular torsion, twice, impaled through the leg, temporarily blinded, run over, almost had the head of my dick bit off, which was in so much pain I held in my piss for a week till I exploded and it felt like my dick was being torn in half. But I think out of all of that, nothing is quite as physically painful as true emotional trauma. Like you wouldn't think so, because it's emotional, but when your heart breaks, Jesus, it really breaks. But also testicular torsion. Dude, whatever life you live, you gotta stop. Testicular, the head of your dick being ripped off, being impaled. Just find a nice lady and take it easy. Damn. You know you're meant to wait till you're dead to donate your body to research, right? Septic shock with systemic organ failure. Was later told it's the closest to dying you can feel without actually dying. 1000 tenths don't recommend. Hey, me too. Totally blows. 5/7. When I was in 6th grade I had a botched appendectomy. It had burst during surgery and they didn't get it all cleaned out. After getting home my lower abdomen was swollen and red for a while, so they took my back to the hospital. It had gotten very infected. They had to reopen the wound and leave it open for over a week so they could clean it and fill the wound with gauze like 6 times a day. Sitting up when I had to was bad, but removing the bandage to take out gauze, spraying the open wound with what I assume was antibiotics, and then stuffing new gauze into me was unreal. A few years ago, I was going to the dentist often since my teeth were damaged due to teeth grinding. After he fixed like 5 teeth he's like, "Oh, we missed something here," and he started diving into my tooth without any anesthesia, going, "Shish. It doesn't hurt." It was the last time I went to see "Hi monsieur." I swear most dentists are sadistic monsters. Dentists can be maniacs. I stubbed my toe once. When I was like 17 I got up one morning really thirsty and went to the kitchen, filled up a big glass of cold water and started chugging. Chug number 1, immediately I felt something wrong. I felt it go all the way down my throat and into my stomach like a rock. My stomach felt like it was 10 sizes too small, and that one gulp filled it up like 70%. But the problem was gulps number 2 and number 3 were already activated and I couldn't stop myself in time. Gulp number 2 felt like it stretched my stomach to 120%. And gulp number 3 actually felt like my stomach pouch tore open. I fell to my knees and just stayed for like 3 minutes analyzing the interior of my body to see if I could feel stomach acid spilling into my body cavity. Thankfully I was fine. To this day, I don't do that anymore. I take a sip, and if everything is okay, then I proceed drinking. I think it's due to the cold shocking your stomach and it clenches to avoid injury. I remember hearing a while back, years, so it's definitely very fuzzy, that it's a survival instinct and also why you're supposed to drink room temperature water. Somatic pain. I have an anxiety disorder and I often somatize. That means turning excess anxiety into physical pain. This pain may be mild and just uncomfortable, but on a bad day it can be so severe that I cannot walk or breathe without feeling like I'm going faint. Same here. Fucking brutal. Then I'm worried that my somaticized pain is a symptom of something real and it just causes more anxiety. My period cramps. IDKY. But mine are extremely painful. All my friends and sisters don't ever to get it as painful as me and I'm so jealous. When I get them, I just end up crying for hours, throwing up, knocking myself out, and sleeping for 5 years to get rid of the pain. Have you gotten checked for endometriosis? Yeah, I went to my doctor about it. She told me I didn't have the symptoms so it wasn't worth looking into any further, just really bad cramps I guess. You should find a new doctor. Finding one that takes period pain seriously is hard, but I promise, your period should not be the top of your pain scale. And since that's the case I would put money on you having something else going on too. And finding a decent doctor might be the first step to figuring it out and living your life in extra 25% of the time you're losing right now. Same thing happens to me. It feels like my lower abdomen is getting punched and stabbed simultaneously. Taking painkillers reduces it to just getting punched. The only thing that helps me is a heating pad on high. When I was young, I never had cramps. I never knew what everyone was complaining about. I turned 22, and wham! Fetal position. Crying and pain, cramps for at least 1 day every time. But you gotta work through it or else everyone thinks you're crazy. One time not too long ago winter had just ended and my allergies were getting pretty bad, so I took some Benadryl and went on a boat ride with one of my friends. I had like 2 cans of soda and a big bottle of water. And after about 15 minutes on the boat I realized I had to pee, but I discovered that when I take Benadryl I can't pee. Urinary tract I think. And we were in the middle of nowhere on a boat, and we still had about 4 hours to go. After a while it got super fucking bad and it was excruciating pain and we tried to get back but it took a while and I'm very surprised my bladder didn't leak or I didn't get a UTI. After I got home it hurt so bad to pee I had to sit on the toilet for about 30 minutes and do short spurts. After that I decided to never to get into a situation like that ever again. Cervical biopsy. I've shattered an ankle, gotten right back up and trimmed 4 more horses' hoofs, plus the one who crushed my ankle, before driving 2.5 hours back home and investing the mush inside my boot. I've broken fingers, metatarsal bones, toes, so many ribs, both ankles. Have had crushing injuries that left permanent deformations. I've left a 4x4 chunk of skin adhered to a motorcycle tailpipe. It stretched off my leg like cheese off pizza, and kept doing whatever I was doing. 60 seconds of my third cervical biopsy was hands down 1000x worse than all of it put together and more. I puked, passed out, and have legit PTSD. Never again. I'll die of cancer first. I had that. The male doctor told me it would take too long to numb me up before he cut out a piece of me. Bastard. They didn't offer numbing to me at all. When she was done, and I woke up after passing out, the NP looked at me with the driest sympathy, and said, "Yeah, that's the worst thing we do to human beings without sedation." I've had sticks shoved into my cervix for a forced dilation and I thought I was going to die, or break my boyfriend's hand. Monsieur, I feel I am emotionally unprepared for a biopsy right now. I hate being a woman. Woo-ah, hold up. You don't get numbed for a biopsy on your cervix. WTF. A splinter under my thumbnail about 3/4 of the way down. There is a reason that sticking things under people's nails is a legitimate torture method. Nerve pain in my jaw. I have a damaged branch of my trigeminal nerve that initially took about 4 months to diagnose. I cannot begin to describe the horror of nerve pain. I have been awake at 2 a.m. wondering if it is possible to die from pain. It's not possible according to my pain specialist. Really lucky to have great doctors. When I was in 2nd grade, one was jumping on my trampoline with my older brother and he tripped me. While I was really high in the air and I was near the edge when he tripped me and I fell off and landed on my arm. Monsieur, I dislocated my arm and shattered one of my bones in the arm and cracked the other. I now have nerve damage in my arm, monsieur. Literally the exact same thing happened to me at the exact same time. Spider-Man pointing meme. Ingrown and infected toenail. Worst thing ever. The surgery and shots were pretty bad too, but having that get stepped on every now and then was the worst. I had a few when I was a kid. When I picture the pain, I can still remember my nose feeling numb and not being able to speak. Me, too. Couldn't even breathe on my infected and pussy toe and then had to get giant needles shoved all the way in 6 times. I was trying to distract by singing the ABCs and it came out as A, B, F, U, 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 C, K, C, D, F, U, 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 C, K. The podiatrist was laughing so hard and his receptionist out front could hear me. She died of laughter as well. Pepper spray. It felt like someone shoving glass covered with fire into my eyes. IUD insertion or breaking my femur. It was my sophomore year in wrestling practice that this happened. I was a 170 pounds and I was practicing with a 195 at the time since it was early in the SEN and not many people showed up because they didn't have to. I'm not sure how to describe this non-wrestlers, but he went for a far side cradle on me and I was resisting to try and help him nail the cradle better. And this man with all his might bent my head towards my tailbone, effective inverting my spine into a C shape and tensing all my back muscles. I've broken my right arm and 2 ribs, but that's still the most pain I've ever felt. I could barely walk straight after that. I've never experienced that, but I have broken my ribs. There were days where I'd just lay on the floor in the bathroom and cough blood into the toilet. And if that pain in your back was worse, I'm sorry you had to experience that. Thank you so much for watching and have a good day.